17th, 2022, here with your live show. We are live 7 days a week, 365 days a year, but today just one sport in town. It is Major League Baseball, and it's going to be like this for a little while at least. There'll be some other events and stuff we'll try and cover. We've got the NBA draft coming up next week. We've got a few other things along the way too, and before you know it, football preseason will be here. We're couple weeks away from the Major League Baseball All-Star break. So these are some of the fun, slower times of the year. And we know that, and we have fun with it. And we kind of try different things at this time. And, we try and keep the shows moving right along. But anyways, the NBA Finals are over. And, the Warriors just really took out the ass-kicking shoes again on the Celtics last night in Boston, humiliating the Celtics along the way. I would say the Celtics have probably some serious soul-searching to do, probably see a little bit of roster manipulation from the Celtics going forward, because clearly this is a team with no answers whatsoever. What we saw in this series was in game 3 of the series, a game that was won by the Celtics. The Celtics had a gigantic lead on the Warriors. The Warriors reeled them in, got to the lead, and then the Celtics ended up winning the game by 10. And that was the last time we saw the Celtics defense effective at all, because during that run against the Celtics, the Warriors figured out the Celtics defense. And from that point forward, the Celtics defense had no answers at all for Steph Curry, for Wiggins, for anybody. And the only thing that stopped the Warriors at any point during those last 3 games of the series was themselves. And it was just one individual in the tree that stopped themselves. And they had plenty in the tank as far as other options for guys to pick up the slack. And that's pretty much what we saw. Jason Tatum, 11 points in the first half. I think he had 2 in the second half yesterday. Once again, Houdini'd it out there. Absolutely a pathetic performance by him. He was crying like a baby after the game. Kind of deserved it. What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. That was my thought the entire, series, since you were bringing it up, early on. I think the first mention of it was maybe game 2. He didn't show up. We've seen that happen with players before in the past. They can have a great regular season. They can have a great first couple rounds of the playoffs, but then they disappear when the team needs them most. It just happened with Jason Tatum. The shots were not falling, and sometimes he was just passing up the shot that he needed to take. And, credit guys like Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart for trying to lift up some of that heavy weight that you'd expect to see lifted from Tatum. But I think it may be stating the obvious here, but the better team won that series. I think it was just you had.
It wasn't even close. In the end, it was not even close.
Yeah, you had a couple of blips from the Warriors, but I think the best shot was when, the Celtics, suffocated Steph Curry, and the Warriors still found a way to win that game. I think that was just sort of the confidence blow that really did in the Celtics.
Yeah, just like, I thought Al Horford was another guy that stepped it up for the Celtics too. Last night hitting some threes, kind of having to pick up the slack for Jason Tatum, when he just disappeared. I wasn't sure he was on the court or not. And, Marcus Smart, he's off and on, and it's just obviously not the consistency enough when you're playing against guys like Curry and Wiggins and Draymond and Klay Thompson and, Poole, and it goes on, Looney. It just goes on and on and on. And this Warriors team probably not going to step back. Steve Kerr, 5 rings as a player, 4 rings as a coach. He has got 2 handfuls of rings, more rings than Tom Brady, more rings than just about anybody out there. And boy, he looks locked and loaded for next year as well. Probably get James Wiseman back in. What do you think of this Warriors team? Steph Curry, 4 rings, 1 behind Michael Jordan at this point.
Well, I gotta say that I'm extremely happy that the under came in yesterday, but I'm extremely disappointed in the way the Boston Celtics looked. And I'm not a Steve Kerr fan. I mean, he might have a lot of titles. I remember him from the Chicago Bulls days, but I'm not a Steve Kerr fan. Not a Golden State Warriors fan. Definitely not a fan of yesterday. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a Warrior. I don't know why I'm a Warrior. Maybe I'm a Warriors hater because I know you like them. Maybe that's it. I don't know what it is.
I'm not a fan of anything, but I'm just
I'm not a fan of anything
I just
either.
think when you see guys that take it to the next level like that, I thought when you heard the comments from Steve Kerr after the game, it's like, how do you have so many championships? You know, because he's not Michael Jordan, obviously, right? It's like, how do you have so many championships? He's like, I've been with some of the greatest players to ever play the game. He's like, I've gotten totally lucky to be in these situations, to get to be around some of the greatest players to ever play the game. He's like, that's how it's happened. And I think, you know, when you saw Klay Thompson say, you know, I had to sit there for 2 years, you know, and wasn't allowed to play. It wasn't that I didn't want to play or that I couldn't play. I wasn't allowed to play. That the doctors told me, my teammates, everybody, you have to sit here because the possibility of re-injuring yourself at this point during your recovery is too great. It's like, we know you can play now. We know you can contribute now. And he's like, when I had to sit there and watch us lose every game, when I had to sit there knowing that I could help, he's like, this was, you know, a major thing. And you saw him just, you know, the jubilation of being back and not just being on the team. 17 points a game in the NBA Finals for Klay Thompson. I mean, seriously. I mean, how about this guy? I mean, four rings.
Know if I buy his story though, because I mean he's getting paid a tremendous amount of money to sit there on the bench. And I think I would do as I'm told and be happy about it. You know, I don't.
No, it's. I mean, he's a competitor, and he was just like, this isn't what we do. He goes, this isn't what I do. I don't sit around. You know, he's like, that's not an easy thing for me. I have the same thing with my dog. He had double knee surgery, 2 of his front legs, and he has to be confined to a very small pen right now for the next several months. And, you know, he's out of it now, and he's still, you know, a week and a half out of surgery. But it's like he has to stay in a very small space. I know it's going to be a struggle. He's a handful too. But I just thought the Warriors in general, I have to, you know, give them credit, like them, hate them, kind of wonder how they do it, but we know how they do it. And, you know, Steph Curry, it was like, you know, we were 2 years ago, we were one of the worst teams in the NBA after, you know, being on top for so long. You know, he goes, all I did was go to work. I just went to work on what I need to do to be better so we can get back to where we were. And he's like, and that's why most those guys that had been there for all 4 all felt this was the sweetest of all the championships they had won. And I think when we look at the Warriors, this was clearly the least that they had to work with, that they've won a championship. It wasn't like they had Kevin Durant. It wasn't like they were, you know, this was the least they've had to work with. And they still made it look very, very easy. They cracked that Boston defense. That was, you know, they were dogs in many of those games throughout the entire playoffs. And what we saw, that the Boston defense, I think that the blueprint is out on how to beat this defense. And it's like, you know, start throwing in bombs from the outside when they start trying to defend that. Well, then the lane's going to be wide open for a layup. And that's what the Warriors did to them. And then last night when the Warriors were shooting over 50% from beyond the arc, it was just a beatdown. 22 points they were up at one point, and the Celtics really never reeled them in and made it competitive. At one point they got it down to about 8 or 9 points, but there was even though they had it down, Chris, right, at 8-9, you never really thought the Celtics were going to go, right? It was like as soon as they got it to 8, it was bomb. And it was Steph Curry, you know, just, you know, kind of taunting the crowd. I think the ring motion, that was with like 6 to 7 minutes left to go in the game, you know, pointing to his finger for the ring. And you know, it was early. It was way early. Anyways, I thought it was unbelievable. I think we're seeing something that, you know, while we see dynasties in the NBA more than any other sport, this Warriors team truly earned their way to that next level last night.
I just wanted to toss out the James Clark finished number 1 in the NBA. He had a tremendous season, so I just wanted to give him some props. I think this last year, the season before that, he finished number 2. So James Clark, definitely somebody you want to watch in the NBA every year. So he's had 2 consecutive knockout seasons at Pick Dogs.
Consistency. It's the Clark dynasty.
So I just wanted to mention him because he hit in the mid 55 percenters, which you wouldn't think that's a high percentage, but if you're winning games like that, it's a lot of money winning.
Oh, absolutely, especially over the course of an 82 game schedule, and that means that the total season is it starts in mid-October, and here we are in June.
I think he was up there pretty much most of the season. So,
well, congratulations.
Congrats to James.
Congrats to James and all that followed.
All right, let me just go back to one thing that you mentioned. You said that this year's Warriors team had less than any of the 4 championships. I would probably disagree and say that the first championship team had less. I'm looking at that 2014-15 roster. This was a lineup: Barbosa, Harrison Barnes, Andrew Bogut, Curry, Festus Ezeli, Draymond Green, Justin Holiday, Andre Iguodala, Oljan Kuzmic, David Lee, Sean Livingston, James Michael McAdoo, Brandon Rush, Maurice Spates, and Klay Thompson.
Livingston was pretty damn good, and a lot of those guys were actually. So
Iguodala was actually just
better than.
I mean, that was prime Iguodala, I think. But I'm saying, I don't know. I think the addition of Andrew Wiggins, Kevon Looney was starting to really find himself there too. And that's why it's only scary that they're going to get James Wiseman back next year.
Well, that we're not sure, but that remains to be seen.
Fair, okay.
I think he does come back. But anyways, we've got a lot going on today in Major League Baseball, and it was a fun NBA season. I've had better, I've had worse, that's for sure. But I definitely had a good run in the finals, and on the big games, that's where I generally do come through. So I'll take that. If that's the best, if that's all I can get, I will take it. But let's get to today's card in Major League.
I think it's a tremendous card, and I'm a little worried that I'm so excited. This might be one of my favorite cards of the year, so I'm a little worried because it's Friday, and that usually isn't a good thing for me. But I'm super excited about today.
Phillies Nationals Game 1. We've got the Cubs and the Braves and the Orioles taking on the Rays. Chris.
Yeah, for me, I'm a little bit ticked off that I had to see Ranger Suarez listed as the starter for Game 1 because it makes me feel less good about a chance to fade Yohan Adon. But still, Adon absolutely terrible. 1-10 on the year. Guy can't catch a break. So I would maybe lean towards the first 5 over in that one, and maybe Phillies run line for the full game. But again, nothing safe with that Phillies bullpen. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Braves minus 2.5 against the Chicago Cubs. Charlie Morton starting, to still have consistent 4-run outings. But the Braves have been picking them up, and they've won 14 in a row. I know the run can't last forever, but Keegan Thompson really starting to regress over his last couple of starts. And I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays. I think we're getting a bit of a discount just because Shane Baz had a rough outing in his first return off of the injured list. But let's not forget that Dean Kramer, we've seen what this guy's capable of. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as a 1-1 record and a 3.86 ERA indicates. So give me the Tampa Bay Rays at a bit of a discount.
Brian?
In this group in the game, sir, I think I'm going to take Phillies and Nationals over the 11 runs in Game 1. Ranger Suarez, I think he's like a 4-inning guy. Then you got the Phillies bullpen and Don. He should give up his share of runs to these Phillies bats. So the number might seem high, but I think the Phillies and Nats get easily over 11. Then the Braves and Cubs, I'm going to go under 8. I think the wind is blowing in at Wrigley. I know these two pitchers haven't had Keegan Thompson a little bit cold lately. But I think Charlie Morton holds the Cubs down, and I think it stays under the 8. Tampa Bay Rays, Baltimore Orioles. I'm going to take the Orioles on the run line, even though they're just home after taking care of Toronto yesterday. I just think the Orioles plus the 1.5 here. I just think it's a 1-run game either way, and I'm not a big Kramer guy, but I think the Orioles on the run line at home. Let me see here, 21-9 on the run line. So I'll take the Baltimore Orioles.
Cubs now 11-24 at Wrigley Field this year. well worth that $75 bleacher seat, I guess, if you're a Cubs fan. You got to go with the Braves here. They've won 14 in a row, and even with Charlie Morton not being at his best, I still think the Braves scored double digits here against the Cubs. You got to go with the Braves. Hate the price though. I took the Orioles yesterday on here on the money line against the Blue Jays. Don't like them as much here. Kind of probably going to stay away from that one. And I like that over in that first Nationals-Phillies game for sure. Brian, what are you selling today?
Well, for me, 1-2 day yesterday, but you know what? I absolutely love the card. Like I said, one of my favorite cards I've seen so far in baseball. I got my Dogs Are Barking 3-pack. I got 3 underdogs in Major League Baseball for $50, or you can get my best bet, my titanium play for $15. Make sure you check it out at pickdogs.com.
Yeah, for me, I got my Friday pickoff play. Went back-to-back with the Padres yesterday, looking for the trifecta as we put out another play today that I absolutely love. My favorite bet on the board for $15, or that $15 play part of my Fastball Friday 3-pack, $39.95 over at Pick Dogs Premium.
I got my $15 big play. Of course, you can use that coupon code June10, get 10% off anything you buy at the premium area. I'm 7-2 in my last 9 of the $15 big play. Last night, the winner with the Texas Rangers made it look easy. Had it all the way. Just no doubter. We'll take it. And of course, I only had 2 picks yesterday, and I had the Warriors on the money line. Today I have a Major League Baseball 3-pack, which does not include my $15 big play. So I have 4 plays for today in total, but I could have easily done 10. I love today's card as well. I think it's a mix. I think there's a good mix of favorites and dogs. I can see some of the big favorites like the Dodgers getting knocked off today for sure. Anyways,
let's hope.
We move on. I think what we're seeing, and while the Braves have been on this heater, what we're starting to see is that a lot of these teams that are negative odds in the run line, right? The thing that I hate the most, right? Negative odds in the run line, the worst bet in sports. You're seeing a lot more of these teams lose outright and not cover the run lines, right? Toronto especially. They waxed run line bettors this week. I mean, it really damaged them. We saw, the Red Sox yesterday get bludgeoned, in that game. A lot of favorite bettors that have been leaning on these teams. I think even when you look at some of these records, the probability and the numbers just don't add up. No one's going to win 135 games this season. It's not going to happen. And if one team happens to have an epic 118 win season or something, the probability of 2 teams doing it is 0. Zip. So time to fade these big boys. Anyway, speaking of big boys, Ruffalo, we got the Reds and the Brewers. We got Nationals and Phillies game 2. And the Pirates, Zach Thompson's got a job up against the San Francisco Giants. Wow. Zach Thompson's got a paying gig.
I don't know how much longer it's going to be a paying gig. I do like the over 7.5 in that game, though. I think Carlos Rodon probably gets through a solid start against the Pirates, but I do think he gives up at least 2, maybe 3 runs here. And I think I see this as like a 5-run outing for Zach Thompson. I think we get well into the 8-9 range in this game, so give me the over 7.5 Giants and Pirates. And the only other one I like in this time slot is that Cincinnati Reds money line play against the Milwaukee Brewers. Eric Lauer, just coming off his worst start of the year against the Washington Nationals, allowed 8 runs in 5 innings. We'll have to see how he bounces back, but he's got a 5.05 ERA on the road this season. Hunter Green, he's had peaks and valleys, and he has had his bumps, but he's pitching fairly well as of late, and I think that he could put the Cincinnati Reds in a spot to get a win here.
Benji's doing a 15-leg money line parlay. It's a 16-game card, Benji. Why stop at 15? You've got 16. You know.
Hashtag why stop there?
Yeah, exactly. Why stop there? Brian, what do you think of this slot?
Well, I think it's a pretty solid slot here. I'm going to totally 100% agree with Mr. Ruffalo here. I really love the Cincinnati Reds here. I just this line's begging you to take the Brewers, but the Brewers are 2-8 last 10, and Lauer off a game where he's got torched. I just think the Reds are playing over the last dozen or so. The Reds have been a tough team. I like the way Hunter Green's looked. He's been spotty though, especially that 5.10 ERA. Phillies Nationals, another game I'm going to take the over 10.5. A falter for the Phillies. I don't see him going more than 3. And Espino, I probably pronounced his name wrong, but I don't see him going very long for the Nationals. So I think the 10.5 number, I think if you take the over in both games, I think you'll be safe with that.
I like the Yurfie in the Reds-Brewers game. I like the Yurfie in the Nationals-Phillies game and the Yurfie in the Pirates and Giants game. I don't know if they put it up yet, but we have Yurfie and Nerfie stats coming to our betting tools. I'm really excited about the Nerfie and Yurfie tools, and it's something that while we're talking about baseball, we're going to start showing more of the betting tools on the show that kind of back up some of the information. And, you know, we talk a lot about the Nerfies and Yurfies, and we're going to talk about teams, matchups, and pitchers and pitcher matchups. We have betting tools that cover all of that revolving around the Nerfie and the Yurfie. And if it's not out now, if it's not already on the site, it's in the dev environment. So that means they're just going to flip a switch. They're just making sure that it's riding through. But it's like originally it was just going to be Yurfies and Nerfies and teams versus teams and all this other stuff and scenarios, days a week, all these, you know, night game, day game, all this, whatever, every way you can look at it. But of course, I said, well, can't we just put in the starting pitchers too and have Nerfie and Yurfie stats for guys for, you know, things? Hey, yeah, of course we can. So they added that, and that's what the delay has been actually. But I'm excited to see it. I've seen it actually, so I'm excited for you guys to see it. Chris, you think that'll be helpful?
Oh, I absolutely do.
How about the betting tools in those player props yesterday? Oh, whoa! That Jason Tatum under 27. It was like,
well, I picked the wrong one. I took the under 6.5 assists, and the bastard got 7 assists, of course.
Steph Curry, it's over 4.5 3-pointers. It was like 80%.
I don't even think you needed the betting tools to have that one, but I think it just hammered it home that you went against Jason Tatum. So it was, you know, the only one that kind of got me was that Draymond Green 3-point. He didn't hit one all series. I think he was 0 for 12, and the next thing you know, you blink and he's got 3 threes in game 6. So
yeah, we're going to have we have these Nerfie and Yurfie betting tools, and then once they're up, you know, you guys can take a look at them and of course help us out and say, hey, we'd like to see this, we'd like to see this. The guys who make the tools, the guys who do the programming and all that stuff, they watch our shows, they read your comments. And that's how they come up with, you know, exactly how the tools are going to be. So we don't, you know, believe me, we've got plenty of tools working at Big Dogs. Yeah,
I can name a few.
Yes, I can name more than a few, and we have a lot of ex Big Dog tools. We got a whole stable. Anyway, speaking of tools, we've got the Blue Jays up against the Yankees. Blue Jays game with a line of under minus 250. We've got the Tigers against the Rangers and the Red Sox up against the Cardinals. That's an interesting one. Brian, what do you think?
Well, you could say the same thing about a Yankees line, you know, under minus 110. Actually, I'm seeing a little bit of plus money for the New York Yankees. I think you're going to get a ton of the Bronx Bomber guys all over them. But Stripling hasn't been bad. 13 and 2/3 scoreless innings. I know that that's bound to end, but I just think this is a Toronto revenge spot. They're getting a chance to get the Yankees at home. I like the Toronto Blue Jays tonight. I think it's one of the stronger plays. And I'm gonna take the Texas Rangers here against my guy Scooble and the Detroit Tigers. I just think this game's gonna be one late. I think it'll be tied, or so. I think it'll be tied after 5, and the Rangers walk it off or win it late.
Yeah, I will say this about Stripling. I want to see how he does against a team with a pulse. He plays his 2 wins came against Detroit and Kansas City, but I do agree. I like Toronto there because I do think this series means a lot more to Toronto. I think they want to, make a statement that they're going to be right there with the Yankees, and this AL East isn't a runaway. So I think the Blue Jays show up here. Stripling, like Brian said, hasn't been all that bad. And I don't know. I just can't get on Jordan Montgomery. It just doesn't work for me. So I'll take Toronto there. I'm going to go with the Detroit Tigers. Tariq Skubal did have a bump in the road last time out, but for the most part, over the last month and a half, he's pitched fairly well. He's been able to keep the ball in the park for the most part, and I just don't see John Gray sustaining this. So give me the Detroit Tigers. And I lean towards the over in that St. Louis-Boston game. Michael Wacha's pitched really well at home, but you have to think the Cardinals are going to want to get to their former teammate. And I think Boston can get to Adam Wainwright, who hasn't been all that great or anything special this season. So give me the over 10 in that one.
I like the over in that Yankees Blue Jays game. I think that we're at that point in the rotation for these two teams where I think the bats are going to win. I like the Yerfie in the Tigers Rangers game, and I like the Tigers first inning to win the first inning, and I like Adam Wainwright against Wacha. I like the under strikeouts prop for Wacha as well. It's something that I do. We don't need a Discord. We have plenty of places to chat about picks and to do all this stuff. We have a Facebook group, which is 100% free. We have you don't need a dev team to have a Discord group. You all you gotta do is sign up. Takes 2 seconds. I don't want to manage that. I'd rather put it into quality content, betting tools, and things like that other people don't have. And charging people to be in my Discord group. I don't know. If that's what you guys want, though, let me know. We'll set it up. I won't be able to participate much.
If people are just looking to talk about picks, we do have the Facebook group.
Yeah, but I'm anti-Facebook, so I could see it. I hate Facebook.
Fair enough.
Facebook sucks. I'm with them. If they don't want to be on Facebook, I get it. I know the show's on Facebook. I don't give a shit. How about that? Bunch of jerks. It's like someone calls someone a bitch in our Facebook group. It's like the post gets flagged. Someone threatens to kill somebody on Facebook. It's not against our policy. I mean, that's how they operate. Ass wipes. Other than that, well, just calling it like it is. Speaking of ass wipes, got the Mets against the Marlins, Rockies against the Padres, and the Astros against the Royals. The Astros are playing White Sox. Brian?
No, you had it right. The Royals and White Sox are comparable. But in this grouping of games here, I think the White Sox are the best value on the board here. Giolito hasn't had the best season yet, but he's tremendously talented, and you're getting a White Sox team that's won 3 in a row. I think Chicago's probably set up for a nice long 10. I see him on a nice long win streak, and you're going to get this kind of plus money. I think they can knock off Houston Astros. I'll take the Colorado Rockies at home. Too many people here making love here to the Padres with Gore. Gore's been awesome, but maybe I'm just a curmudgeon here. I just think the Rockies are due. They're at home. They usually play better baseball in Colorado. It hasn't been lately, but I'll take Colorado on the money line.
I'll be totally honest here about the Discord since we're on that subject. I'm going to cut in, and I'll be totally honest why I haven't really looked further down the road is because the Discord stuff that I see out there isn't stuff that I want to be part of. It's all the cheesy, crappiest sites and people that are on there, that are running these rooms. It's all the people that we try and be the opposite of what they do. Like, I see people doing video on there and things like that. I don't even understand what they're doing. Like, the first one I ever saw was that Insider's Room. The guy who, does videos like he's inside of his closet or something. I guess that's what the Insider's Room is this guy's closet. He's got, a bunch of clothes hanging up around him or something. I'm not really sure what it is. But, that's the only thing that I can, relate it to, and maybe a couple other ones. I've been in Discord groups of other things that I do, and I haven't found it overly effective. But if I'm missing something, by all means, email me, mitch@pickdogs.com. Help me, and I will show me the way. And I'll gladly set one up for our Pick Dogs community if that's what you guys want to do. But I'm not going to have it just as some, crappy offset of, like the things that to us haven't been worth the time. And you can see because we don't have the numbers there. Things like Twitter, just we're there. We have somewhat of a presence. I have a Twitter account. These guys have Twitter accounts, but it's like we're not going to invest a lot of time and money there. It's just not worth it. It's not our community. It's not the crowd that we're after in general. The Twitter cappers and Twitter community, it's like, I don't even know. I don't even understand it. It doesn't even make sense. It's like, I don't know. We'd rather put our money and time into things that we own and that other people can't decide to change the rules and tell us what we can and can't do, what we can and can't say. Because everyone knows I always say things that I shouldn't say, even when I'm saying them. Chris,
don't we all?
Talk to me. Shut me up.
No.
I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
I'm going to go with the under in the Miami and New York Mets game once we see a total, because I think it's going to be a pitcher's duel all the way. I'm expecting to see Pablo Lopez for the Miami Marlins. He had a start scratched a couple days ago. From what I'm hearing, those issues have cleared up, and he could be in line to get the start here. Carlos Carrasco's pitched a lot better at home than on the road this season. And I just see this game as a 3-2 kind of game, low-scoring battle. So give me the under there. And I'm going to go with the Nerfy between the Padres and Rockies. I know Kyle Freeland and Mackenzie Gore wouldn't necessarily think of it, especially with Kyle Freeland, but he's actually hit the Nerfy in 3 straight starts. Mackenzie Gore hasn't allowed a first-inning run in any of his last 4. And I just think you're getting plus 155 with the Nerfy there. And I just don't see any runs in the first inning. I think if the runs come, they're going to start in the second and third inning. So give me the Nerfy in that one.
I like the Nerfy in the Astros White Sox. That's where I like the Nerfy. I think both those guys are generally fast starters. I also like the Marlins against the Mets. I think the Mets are ready for a big old-fashioned collapse. And I think the Marlins send them on their way here. We go to our next set of games. We've got the Diamondbacks taking on the Twinkies. We've got the A's and the Royals, the Mariners against the Angels, and the Dodgers up against the Guardians. Brian, the Dodgers were at minus 300. I know you're a little disappointed that they're only at minus 265 now.
Well, that makes them in -1 territory, but it makes it a little bit better number. But anyway, I'm excited about this closeout of this. A lot of these games here I like. I'm going to take the Cleveland Guardians here plus the 1.5. Cleveland's one of those scrappy teams. You saw what they did in Colorado. They just I don't see there's any reason why they couldn't knock off the Dodgers here. Kershaw has had a tremendous year, but I don't think he's going to go more than 4 or 5 innings here. Is the line officially out for the Royals and Athletics? Because I'm going to be taking Frankie Montas and the Oakland A's here at home. Rarely do they get a chance here to get a series win at home. I think they take advantage of it tonight. So I'm going to take Oakland A's on the money line as long as it's under -140.
Chris?
Yeah, and for me in this time slot, I like the Minnesota Twins a lot. I think that Madison Bumgarner, he's just been having issues, and the problem for Bumgarner is he can seemingly do no right. I mean, he has a good start, and then all of a sudden the Diamondbacks don't give him a single run of support in any of his last 3 starts. So last time I checked, hard to win baseball games when you're not scoring any runs. So give me the Minnesota Twins in that one. I like Devin Smeltzer a lot. In that Kansas City-Oakland game, if I'm seeing this correctly, and if it's Daniel Lynch that's going for the Kansas City Royals, I'm going to go with the over there. Frankie Montas hasn't, for me, been anything special, especially in his last couple of starts. And Daniel Lynch has been getting absolutely torched for much of the year. So I think that's a game that wouldn't seem high scoring just from the names on paper, but I think the pitching matchup alone pushes it over into double digits. And I'm going to go with the over 7.5 in the Angels and Mariners game. One start is not going to convince me that Robbie Ray is back on track. And I think this is a guy that's struggling. The Mariners got the bootleg version of the Robbie Ray that we saw last year, and it's just not cutting the mustard. And I think Michael Lorenzen bound to struggle here as well. I think he's going to give up 3 or 4 runs. So give me the over 7.5 in that one.
The A's are 6-25 at home on the run line, Chris. You realize that. If that doesn't get you going, then nothing will. 7-24 at home straight up. That's below 25%. That is really bad. Anyways, I like the Guardians here a lot at plus 225. Hear me out. I got hammered on the YouTube comments for this pick. I mean, I got crushed. I got the clown emoji, the crying, laughing emoji, no poop emoji, but I also got the he's an idiot word, text. I've got it, the whole thing, the full Monty of the negative comments on my Guardians pick. Guardians are 8-2 in their last 10 games, 32-27, 5 games over 500. The Dodgers just 4-6 in their last 10. The Bats have gone absolutely silent in Los Angeles, in case you haven't noticed. Okay, maybe that getting beaten on like a drum by the Pirates maybe would have sent a little message to some people. I got news for you. The Guardians are just a way better version of the Pirates. That's all they are. They're very, very similar teams. Situational hitting, right? They don't get a ton of hits, don't score a ton of runs. Very situational hitting, right? Very patient at the plate. Tito, right? Squeezing every drop that he has to work with every single time out. Oh, up against these underperforming Dodgers, who really a shell of the pitching staff and batting order that we saw last year. This is a team that was leaning on Trevor Bauer to be the anchor of the staff for a few years. Shouldn't have choked around.
Pretty boy Dodgers.
Yeah, these guys are way too soft. I could see the Guardians 2-1, 3-2 here. I could see it. And everyone's going to be, and all the comments in the YouTube tomorrow on Romanelli's thread, the Dodgers screwed my parlay.
No, it's going to be Dodgers Yankees, but anyway. I digress.
Anyways, I kind of like Oakland here too with Montas. And I don't know. The Angels winning back-to-back games. They haven't won a game as a road underdog in a month. And I don't think Michael Lorenzen is the guy to get him out of that funk. Why not? Well,
I mean, he hasn't been a superstar, but he's consistently
bad.
Keeps the Angels. No, he's not. His ERA is 3.45 and his WHIP is 1.13, which is respectable.
Let's look at his. Let's reevaluate that ERA though. His home ERA and his road ERA. Different story.
These two pitchers are a wash.
Little different story. His worst outings of the year are all on the road, at Houston, at Philly. Yep.
He didn't do too bad in that Phillies game, as I remember.
Oh, you're right. It wasn't too bad. 5.2 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, all earned, 9 strikeouts.
Maybe my memory didn't.
And of course, to round out the 5 walks.
No, I would feel more comfortable with him than Robbie Ray, but
I haven't seen anyone. I mean, when it comes to walking the bases loaded, I think Lorenzen should write a book on that. Kind of like, the guys that write like the golf book on just, the 60 yards and in shot, I think Lorenzen could do how to walk in the run, how to walk it in. Do you allow the single first, or you just walk the bases loaded and then throw 4 straight into the dirt? I mean, is that how you do it, or do you like almost pretend and maybe plunk the second guy or something, just to add a little flavor? I don't know. Lorenzen certainly can find the way to do that. He has made a career out of it. We get to our favorite part of the show, which is our parlay segment. Who's up?
All right, for me in the parlay, I'm going to take the over in both Game 1 and Game 2 of the Phillies Nationals, and I'm going to team that up with the Toronto Blue Jays on the money line.
Chris Ruffalo?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with the Yurfie in Game 1 of that Phillies Nationals matchup. I'm going to go with the Detroit Tigers on the money line, and the Nerfy between the Padres and Rockies.
Guardians. The Cardinals. San Francisco Giants minus 2.5. This is Mitch. Thanks for joining me. Chris, Brian, always a pleasure. We'll see you guys on the VIP show in just a moment. Make it a